So I should probably start by introducing myself. Why is that funny? That's my friend Charlotte, she's in the screen. My name is Alice, and I am a politics and sociology student at the University of Manchester. And as part of my course, I study a criminology module called Foundations of Criminal Justice. And upon studying this, I've been looking at stop and search and the laws and the rules surrounding it. And I've realised that actually no one kind of has any idea about what their stop and search rights are. I mean, I didn't before I did the course, and I know there are loads of other people that don't. So I'm making this video so that we all know our rights, because there's no point in having rights if you can't ensure they're enforced, and you should know your own rights. So watch this video and learn your rights in case you get stopped and searched, because it could happen to you one day. So yeah. Also, I just watched that video back and realised I'm doing this all the way through it. It's because I'm on a spinny chair, and no one can sit still on a spinny chair. Right, okay, so now to your stop and search rights. Just a disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a police officer, I don't write the law, I don't make the law. Wish I did, but no. Don't write the law, don't make the law. And I've only got the understanding that I've got from my lectures. But yeah, I'm going to give you what I can. So your rights. A police officer can stop you at any time and ask you what you're doing, why you're in the area, and where you're going. But the most important thing to remember is that you have no requirement to answer these questions. If a police officer asks you these questions, there is no requirement for you to answer, and they cannot threaten you or do anything against you if you do not answer these questions. This is your right to silence. So that was what to do if you're stopped, or what your rights are if you're stopped. Now onto the search part. So under the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, 1984, Section 1, a police officer with reasonable suspicion may search a person or vehicle in public for stolen or prohibited articles. And also, Code A of that Act states that, because in there it states reasonable suspicion, so the officer must have a reasonable suspicion to stop you. And Code A states that this reasonable suspicion cannot be based on generalisations, stereotypical images of certain groups and categories of people that the police officer thinks are more likely to be involved in criminal activity. So he can't stop you just because you look a certain way. That's not lawful, and it breaks your rights. So you've gotten to the point where the officer has ascertained that he has reasonable grounds to search you. So before the search, he must give you his name and his police station. I'm saying his just as a general term. There are obviously female police officers. So the police officer must give you their name and their police station, what they expect to find, so what they're looking for, the reason for their suspicion, the legal grounds for the search, so what act under it is, or what law they think you're breaking, and also all of this is noted down, and you can actually ask to take a record of this with you when you leave, which I would recommend. I think is a good thing to do. Take a record of the search, so then you've got some evidence yourself to present should you ever need it. And it is also important to note that the police can use reasonable force against you. Obviously, reasonable force is a bit of a odd term, because you'll use reasonable force differently. You know, the reasonable force is different for a teenager who's committed a crime to an old person or an adult or whatever. But that's the law, reasonable force. I won't go into the debate about reasonable force, but just so you know, if an officer does grab you or whatever, that is, and they ascertain it's reasonable force, then that is not breaking your rights under the law. And they also must ask you for your name, address, and your self-defined ethnicity. And they might also ask you to remove your outer jacket, coat, gloves, or a hat that you're wearing, but they can't ask you to remove any other clothing. If they do want you to remove more clothing or to perform a strip search or anything, they must take you to a private place, and it must be performed by an officer of the same sex as you. Just a disclaimer, there are certain situations in which these specific set of rights and rules don't apply. So in a football match, in an airport, in a rave, or if there's any kind of terrorism suspicion, the police do not have to adhere directly to these specific rights. So that's all I know about stop and search. If anyone wants to send me anything else, just comment and let me know. Share this video, because I think it's really important that people know their rights, and if you like marching on protests, or you know, if you're just walking down the street, because if a police officer thinks you're suspicious and has reasonable grounds, then, you know, even if you're not doing anything wrong, you know, or even if you don't know if you're doing anything wrong, because the law can be a bit ambiguous sometimes. Regardless, share this video and help everyone learn their stop and search rights. Thank you.